Well, we welcome you back to the Euroformula Open Championship for the last dance saloon. We are here at Monza, the Temple of Speed for round 8 for this season's championship. 16 laps, 30 minutes maximum here for this race one that awaits us around the famed Temple of Speed, jewelling the crown of Italian motorsport and indeed to decide a champion. We have got 4 drivers in the mix. Timek Kaharczyk in control of the championship race right now. As you can see, the temperature is now starting to rise. Air temperature now 17 degrees, 28 out on track, with humidity now in decline as the sunshine begins to poke through and across this phenomenal track that holds, of course, the Formula One Italian Grand Prix. The spectators now about to take their seat. As I said before, Timek Kaharczyk, championship leader, currently sat on 323 points ahead of Michael Shin on 298. Yevon David, 293 points against his name. Only 5 points separate both he and Michael Shin, with Jose Garfias on 259. The scene set perfectly with 3 of our championship contenders inside the top 3 spaces. Yevon David notching together a formidable 4 pole positions, 1 away from our highest this season recorded, Timek Kaharczyk so far, who has nestled 5 of his own this campaign. Just what are we going to see as we make our way down through towards turn 1? George Morgan here inside the commentary box. Joining me once again, it's Chris Stevens. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, George, and very much looking forward to this one. Our top 3 contenders in the championship and top 3 on the grid, and it was a stonking effort from Yevon David to claim his 3rd pole position of the season. Some 7/10 clear in the end of the chasing pack. There is the championship leader. He can win the championship today. Maybe not in race 1, but in race 2 later on today, it could well be the crowning moment. Slightly different format for this weekend. 2 races to come today to accommodate the GT Open 500-kilometer race tomorrow. There's Michael Shin on his way to Formula 3 with High-Tech. Also going to Formula 3 with AIX. Yevon David and Fernando Barrichello as well. We are awaiting news on where everyone else is going to end up. There's murmurs that Timek Kaharczyk can end up in Formula 2 next year, potentially, with other drivers potentially going off and doing racing in other continents, or maybe going into different forms of racing as well. But certainly, once again, the Euroformula Open Championship providing a great gateway into the upper echelons of motorsport.
Yeah, obviously, many of the drivers getting their feet and hands behind the wheel of the Stellara 324 chassis cars. Alessandro Famolaro on his return, the Venezuelan, starting from 6 on the grid, will be lined up along with Fernando Barrichello. There is Father Rubens, who is well known for his exploits in a single-seater race car, was teammates, of course, with Michael Schumacher. Fernando Barrichello now also looking to funnel his way through the realms of single-seater competition. As you so rightly said, Chris, will be moving into FIA Formula 3 along with Yevon David at AIX Racing, alongside former champion, reigning champion in the Euroformula Open, Brad Benavides as well. We just caught sight also of Ed Pearson out on track. Everett Stack will be joining him as well, who's also had a great tail end of this campaign, currently fighting for the rookie championship against Yevon David at the moment. 44 of Diego De La Torre, the Mexican, will be looking for a big race as well, but it's going to be very tough from 10th position. He's going to be lined up alongside Luca Viscerano, who lines up in the 11 Nielsen racing car, the Romanian, looking to give a good account of himself as well. And at the rear, newcomer Tax Archis Kolovos as well in his first start in single-seater competition. His very first attempts at racing at this level in a single-seater race car, and we do wish him all the very best after he's had a voyage of discovery, really, so far. As we take a look at the historic oval section of this Monza circuit, and it doesn't really do it justice when you actually look at it from this view. When you actually stand at the bottom, it's vertical. We make your way up, and we can just see there a couple of pedestrians just walking around, taking in the historical elements of this phenomenal Monza circuit.
And how wonderful to see all the greenery that's been revived here. There was a terrible storm and some floods here a couple of years ago that really rather devastated this beautiful part of the world. We are in a national park.
Well, we'll take a look back at Barcelona. Here was race one. It was a great start for Timoča Kaharčík. Obviously, Jevon David got away slowly right at the very beginning. Everett Stack would then also come in close quarter with Michael Shin. Eventually, Shin going for a spin, coming through the first chicane. Coming out of the first corner, Diego Della Torre also scooting off into the gravel. He wasn't the only one to do that, mind you. Of course, later on, we saw the 99 of Jose Garfias doing the same. But it would be Timoča Kaharčík who would open up his Barcelona account in full pursuit of the championship lead, lifting the winning trophy aloft. We got underway then for race two. Some slow starts elsewhere on the grid. It was a mighty start, though, from Ed Pearson, who jumped off the line in very quick form. Side by side, of course, with Fernando Barrichello, who showed a great deal of speed in that second race as well. He was side by side at the same time with Jevon David later on, who put in quite the effort towards the end to try and bring himself higher up inside the classification. But breaking the demon spell was Ed Pearson. Last victory was back at Portimao in our very first race. Well, he took a second of the season as well for Nielsen Racing, a moment that meant a great deal. The rain came down for race three as well as we got underway. And of course, a lot of question marks as to whether they were on the right tyres to begin with. Michael Shin was certainly the story through the course of this particular race. He was side by side with Jose Garfias for a portion. Later, though, as the wet weather abated, he decided to come into the pits for a change of tyre, opting for a slick compound, and he all of a sudden managed to thoroughfare his way forward, eventually leading by nearly a minute, or so, just over a minute, and would take another victory to add to his locker. And will be looking to pursue after the championship, much like Jevon David, but it's Timoča Kaharčík who is in control on 323 points, 25 ahead of Michael Shin at the moment, with then another 29-point gap. Then you can see to Jevon David in third. Jose Garfias, 64 points back, is going to need a mighty run here. So race one just around the corner, the formation lap in full swing. Here is the starting grid. Front row, Schrank and Lyon looking to roar once more. Jevon David starts on pole with Timoča Kaharčík joining him on the front row as well. It's going to be a spicy battle between those two. Michael Shin, also part of the championship fray, in third on the second row, joined by Enzo Yeh, who lines up fourth. Jose Garfias starts in fifth place on row three alongside Alessandro Famolaro. Then Fernando Barrichello on row four alongside Ed Pearson for Nielsen Racing. Everett Stack alongside Diego Della Torre and All Americas region, row 5, with Luca Visorano, row 6, alongside Takachis Kolovos, who lines up the Greek in 12th place. Final moments of the formation lap here, Chris. Now, it's going to be a decisive moment coming down in towards turn one. We know that there are many opportunities for overtaking here at Monza. The question is, who's going to get the better start, David, or will it be Kaharčík?
To be honest, I think even as soon as we get out of turn one, though, the slipstreaming fest will begin. So getting the whole shot into the first corner might not be the be-all and end-all. These are great slipstreaming cars, and there are an awful lot of straights here. We've seen some cracking battles over the years. Everybody used one set of tyres in qualifying, so that should mean that everyone is on fairly equal footing for the three races. Normally it's a bit of a compromise about whether you run a mixed set of new and used or do an old set for one of the races if you haven't got a particularly good grid position. But it should just be fresh tyres for every race and a straight fight for the championship.
You've got three driven competitors inside the top two rows at the moment. Jevon David looking really calm coming into the weekend. We've had chances to speak to him. Also Kaharčík looking very resolute as well. He's keen to get it done here by the end of play today. Ideally coming away with 2 wins. There's the mascot standing by in Timoča Kaharčík's garage looking to wave that Polish flag. But the question is, will that be the case? Giovanni Scala in his final weekend of Euroformula racing as an engineer at Team Motor Park. He's going to be looking to sign off in style for Michael Shin, or, of course, Jevon David at the same time. Remember, that's 2 Motor Park drivers against the BVM of Timoča Kaharčík, starting on the front row himself. What a spicy contest this will be. I'm sure Giuseppe Mazzotti is waiting now in the midst of what will be, I'm sure, an astonishing first race of the weekend as all 5 lights get lit. Here in the Euroformula Open Championship, it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Great start for Jevon David. With was Timur Kaharczyk. Michael Shin also getting a good run as they make their way down through towards turn 1. Yevon David going for that tighter line, looking to get the upper hand coming through the Rectifico chicane. But Kaharczyk is going to meet him every which way. We've got a car cutting off at the escape as well. I think that might have been Jose Garfias who took that first corner very, very aggressively. Had to rejoin. Still remains in fourth, though, ahead of Enzo right now as they come around Curva Grande. It's Yevon David with the lead right now. Kaharczyk now in the midst with Michael Shin just in behind. Kaharczyk with another look to the outside as well. And a very busy looking Ed Pearson who's looking to try and move his way forward. Wheel to wheel between Fernando Barrichello. But Barrichello holds position as well on the outside of Roger. But Yevon David leads as lap 1 gets underway, Chris.
Alessandro Famularo had some sort of problem on the formation lap, I think, because he was not in his grid slot where he was due to start. And so he's having to come up from the back of the grid. I think that car has got going. Yep, there it is, the number 4 machine. So he is in this race, but having to come up from the very back of the grid. Bit of a nightmare for the second of the BVM cars, but it's Yevon David who leads into Ascari for the first time. Little twitch of the rear end. Same for Kaharczyk there. Shin in third, and Enzo Ye in fourth position, trying to keep Jose Garfias at bay. The Mexican having that little off-track excursion at the first corner. And it's on again between Barrichello and Pearson going into the Alboreto curve. Pearson on the outside line and manages to get that move done on the brakes. Brilliant move there. Oh, but he's run off the circuit, though. He's run wide. That's allowed Barrichello to go back through, and Everett Stack as well. So 1 up, 2 down for Pearson.
Yeah, bit of a rough run coming through the final echelons on the lap, so therefore he's going to have to try and go again as they charge down through towards turn 1 once more. Enzo Yeh under pressure right now with Jose Garfias looking to go wheel to wheel on the run down to the first chicane on the course as they go side by side. Who's going to come out on top? Surely the second half of the chicane is going to be profitable for the Mexican Jose Garfias. Another mistake for Pearson further back. Once again, seems to be a little bit lost here in the initial stages of this Euroformula encounter as they come around Curva Grande once more. Now Enzo Yeh's got to recover again, and Diego Della Torre with more problems. It looks like they're changing that front wing, Chris.
Yeah, so clearly some contact or something on the first lap there that's really rather hampered him. That'll be any realistic hope of points over unless we get a safety car. Closing up between Shin and Kaharczyk here. Right now, Yevon David's doing everything he needs to do to try and close in on Kaharczyk. And if Michael Shin can get up there and upset Kaharczyk a little bit as well, then that would be even more helpful, wouldn't it?
Certainly would be that. Yevon David this season matching Kaharczyk on number of wins so far this campaign. Both joint highest number of race wins with 5 apiece. Michael Shin, of course, splitting the two of them inside the title race. He has 4 against his name. If he wins here today, he would then draw and make it 3 drivers with 5 wins apiece as they all pursue that phenomenal championship. And certainly this has been one of the closest championships we have seen on record to date. Ed Pearson now back on the charge, side by side with Barrichello further back of shot as they come through Alboreto corner. Kaharczyk now starting to drop away slightly away from Yevon David, who largely on this lap has been much faster, half a second quicker inside the middle sector thus far. And as they cross the line, fastest laps being exchanged. Garfias, incidentally, was quickest over the last lap as now Michael Shin goes on full pursuit of Timur Kaharczyk. They cannot allow the pole to take any points advantage in the opening race. Shin needs everything possible, and a lock up there for Kaharczyk. It could yet throw him the wrong side in this podium encounter between himself and Michael Shin as they come through Curva Grande once more. Is this going to lend itself better to the Korean, who is now hot on the heels and in the wheel tracks? Ed Pearson on the move as well. He's up in the 7th place ahead of Barrichello as it stands. They come down through towards the Rogier. Here comes Michael Shin up the inside, and prior to the apex of the corner, Shin moves into second. The Korean now chasing teammate Yevon David.
And it's the outside hope. Jose Garfias is now on Kaharczyk's back bumper. They make their way through the Lesmos. That could be a critical move there for Michael Shin. Moves ahead of the championship leader. And meanwhile, Yevon David pulling about 3/4 of a second now over Michael Shin. Might be a little bit more than that now with him having to make that move on Kaharczyk for second. Yevon David looking incredibly comfortable out there in the race where he made his Euroformula Open debut a year ago and rather stunned the paddock with 2 incredible victories in his maiden weekend. He's come an awful long way since fighting for the championship. As look at that, Garfias and Enzo Ye right in that fight as well for the podium. Not too far away. Neither is Everett Stack as well. So back into the Alboreto curve. See the move again, this time from Kahacek's perspective. And Michael Shin very, very confident on the left foot there, braking, and that gets a round of applause from the Motor Park garage. So the gap for Yevon David now 1.1 seconds at the start of lap number 4. But Shin is not exactly pulling away from Kahacek, who's using that slipstream, keeping well within touching distance. Garfias right in there as well. It's Everett Stack, though, at the back of this queue of cars that's done the fastest lap of the race. He's getting not a double slipstream, not a triple or a quintuple slipstream, basically.
Yeah, Yevon David is really trying to check out here as well. I mean, it was 1.1 seconds before Shin, as though he's put in the donkey work, really, hasn't he, to bring it down to 0.7 of a second all of a sudden in full pursuit of the big points. Of course, if Yevon David gets the big win here, obviously he needs to ideally put points on Shin right now in order to try and move into second at the very least. Remember, Yevon David coming into this final round in third, and the gravel's being kicked up.
I think that was Yevon.
Yeah, I think so. And it's left a trail of dust there for the cars there to deal with as they make their way down the Seraglio straight. Enzo, currently positioned in behind Garfias. Garfias getting ever closer to the back of Kahacek right now as they come through the Ascari chicane. There's a slight disconnect now, though. Stack and Pearson, the gap there, 2.8 seconds.
So it was Yevon David, with a big, big moment out of Lesmo too, putting both of the left-hand Pirellis through the gravel. That didn't actually cost him too much time on the run down to Ascari, only about 1/10 of a second or so. But Michael Shin's going to try and make hay while the sun is shining here. It's definitely less than 0.6 of a second now, isn't it? As he hoovers up the slipstream down the start and finish straight. Yep, under half a second now. So Yevon David trying to break away, maybe pushed it a little bit too hard in the early stages, and now feeling the need to go defensive as Michael Shin moves to the outside line, but Yevon David holding the advantage going into the Rettifilio chicane. You could throw a blanket over those 6 cars, couldn't you? We're on board here with the championship leader as we make our way up towards the Curva Grande. There's multiple opportunities here for any of these guys to try and pounce on the car in front. You can see the advantage of the slipstream here. It's just pulling us along closer to the back of both Michael Shin and Yevon David, as well as again Shin has to go to the outside line. Yevon David's got that covered off beautifully. Yeah, brilliant stuff there from Yevon David. That's 2 occasions, 2 chicanes on this very lap. The first 2 chicanes that you're going to witness around this Monza circuit where Yevon David pulled out a defensive display. And it's worked out rather effectively as well. He's managed to keep Shin behind. It's also managed to bottleneck the field. Top 4 now in this classification. Top 4 in the championship race. I'm not sure why the blue flags are waving out of the second chicane there. There is some slippery surface flags out there, though, because there's gravel everywhere, especially at Ascari. So Yevon David's been able to pull a little bit back on this lap so far. They find a line through the gravel that's been kicked up throughout the course of the race here. David trying to re-establish that gap, 0.6 of a second when they went into Ascari, and be hoping that Shin's more preoccupied with the car behind him than setting after young Yevon. Yeah, obviously we mentioned the porpoising that we saw in qualifying. Yevon David also with a little bit of a bouncy rear on his Dallara 324. It hasn't seemingly hampered his performance thus far, but they're all starting to condense again on the run down through towards the Rettifilio chicane, and this time Jose Garfias looking to open up the door on Kahacek, this time to make it a trio of Motor Park cars sitting inside the top 3, and look at this for Kahacek just trying to fend him off. I think it's too little too late though at this stage, because Garfias has moved into 3rd spot now on the outset of turn 2. It's Motor Park 1, 2 and of course 3 at this point in time. A car cutting away. I'm wondering if that's Ed Pearson again having a moment coming through the first chicane, and indeed I think it was. Here comes Enzo on the attack now. Kahacek in trouble as now in comes once again another contender, his teammate in fact, Enzo looking to squirm all over the back of Timo Kahacek, but just enough laid down by Kahacek to defend the place in P4. I was going to say, at least he's got his teammate behind him now, but it doesn't seem like Enzo's going to be playing ball, to be honest, and very impressed with Enzo in his first couple of races here, bearing in mind he didn't really get a chance to test the car before getting into it. But there's the move again from Jose Garfias, and it was a slightly late defense from Timic, I will say. It was sort of on the limit of what is acceptable in terms of the wheel-to-wheel combat. And another round of applause, the Motor Park garage. Well, they know what that can mean. I mean, not only does it mean, obviously, Jose Garfias, remember, mathematically in this fight, as we now see that Enzo, has passed Kahacek. Yeah. Wow. So he's obviously made the move stick. Now, obviously,
you do have to wonder. Remember, Kahacik's in the title fight. Enzo, of course, is not. And now it throws him into the clutches now of Everett Stack, who has a look up the inside, leaves it very late, and through up the inside at Alboreto corner. It is going to be Stack now, of course, contesting for the Rookie Championship. He's now ahead of Kahacik, 5th place for him.
I think Timek's got a problem here. Surely, you don't see him just fall down the order like this. He was on the back of the leaders a moment ago, and now he's 2 seconds away from them. He's trying to take one of those places back at the very least. Oh, don't dive on the inside of your teammate. Enzo with some real heads-up driving there, and probably the wisest thing to do there was to cut across the chicane, which is exactly what he did.
Well, I can't imagine race control intervene at that state. I think Enzo will be afforded to remain where he is, obviously,
Absolutely.
despite being cut off track. I think that's probably just fair's fair in that scenario. So they'll chalk that one off for now. But obviously, he's got to be careful here. Kahacik is now back come Stack up the inside, but he outbreaks himself coming into the Roger chicane. Has to cut away to the escape. They'll rejoin together again. Kahacik will now reclaim that P5. Ultimately, as they come out of that second chicane, I know after speaking to Michael Shin, he said expect the elbows to be out. He wasn't kidding.
No, certainly wasn't. I wonder if he's still got a playing card in the pocket of his race suit. He started doing that a few races ago.
Might need an ace of spades if he ventures into the gravel.
So
like
this,
Kahacik did.
This is how Kahacik lost the place to his teammate Enzo Ye. And then around the outside, Ascari under braking as well. Again, very impressed with how Enzo's done this first few races in this championship. But Timek's really struggling. I mean, that's where it all started to unfurl. Maybe he just got a bit unlucky with it opening up the floodgates and allowing everyone else to go through. So let's see if he can get on the back of his teammate and this leading quartet once again.
Yeah, obviously Enzo marking his Euroformula debut back at Barcelona last time. Had a largely better qualifying performance as well this time as well, featuring on the second row of the grid. Is now in full pursuit of Garfius. Half a second between those two as now Kahacik comes under fire once again from Everett Stack. Wheel to wheel, they'll go once more as they charge down through towards the Retifido chicane. Inside line here for Stack is going to be very profitable for him in terms of a position, and he will move through. This is how the provisional point standings look. I'd imagine that will change largely now due to Timek losing a place, but he still remains leading the championship. Yevon David will move into second off the back of laying claim to this race lead as now they once again tussle coming through the Curva Grande. It is once again Kahacik. Enzo dropping away now from this. Stack now has moved up. It's almost like they've asked Enzo to rein it in a little bit because Kahacik needs to focus on this title battle.
I mean, well, if anything, I'd tell them to go and disrupt Yevon David and Michael Shin, see if he can take some points away from them. But, man, this really opens it up, though, doesn't it? If it were to finish like this, suddenly it's a proper three-way fight in the championship. We were half expecting Timek not to cruise to the title, but it was definitely, his advantage and a sizable one as well going into this weekend. But this changes everything.
It's definitely not going to, he's definitely proves he's not going to have it all his own way this weekend, that's for sure. Fast in the speed trap at the moment is Enzo, just to say. Obviously, we did see obviously some outbreaking done earlier on. We've seen that a little bit through the course of qualifying as well earlier on this morning. But it's Yevon David out in front. Not only will this mean win of this race, but also a win in terms of the rookies.
Garfius with a lot of oversteer on the exit of the Alboreto curve, really lit up the rear Pirellis. No, the toe is keeping him very much in check here against his teammate. There's definitely no team orders, any of these guys, is there? So trying to challenge now for second place on Michael Shin. Of course, Jose Garfius is still technically in the championship fight, and he will stay in the championship fight, I think, if it were to end like this. He moves through into second place and demotes Michael Shin.
Well, it's hard to obviously impose team orders when you've got three of your drivers in the championship fight. And obviously now Garfius into second place. No papaya rules here, everybody. You've got a straight battle between these three.
Goodness.
As Garfius now gets confirmed into second. Yevon David, and now only a 3/10 of a second gap between him and the Mexican. Garfius, obviously, who's looking to try and pull together plans for next year. Still a mystery as to what his next steps are going to be. Michael Shin now down in third after that move from Garfius. We'll take a look at a slow-mo here now. Once again, there is the 99 of Garfius and the 23 of Michael Shin now sat down in third. And if anything, this is probably good news for Yevon David because it means it extends the points gap now between Yevon David, who for now sits second in the championship, and now Michael Shin in third.
starting to close back up again, isn't it? Because it's only 2.2 seconds that covers the top 6 now. Extraordinary stuff. And we're only just coming up to half race distance as well. Still 8 more laps of this to go. Cracking battle at the head of this field. And Yevon David has led it from the get-go. He's had a couple of challenges, but has not yielded that lead once since the lights went out. Maybe Garfias has got something to say about that, though. He has been in a very rich vein of form lately. Victorious in Paul Ricard and consistently on the podium at Red Bull Ring. A few difficult races in Barcelona, though, I must admit, but nonetheless, proving he's got what it takes. Little jink to the inside there, just showing his nose in the mirror of Yevon David there and trying to distract him. But as inexperienced as Yevon is, only in his 2nd year of single-seater racing, he has got a very wise head on a very young pair of shoulders.
Well, he's looking to go back-to-back years as a winner in race 1 here at Monza. Did it here last year, if you remember, folks. Came away with 2 wins here last year. Race 1 and race 3 went his way with only Brad Benavides. Could only get between them and Michael Shin. Yes, going off up at the Rogier chicane, therefore rejoining, but hasn't lost too much. If anything, though, Everett Stack has probably lost time on Shin, but it's immediately brought straight back in as they collude back together. Coming out of the 2nd Lesmo now this time. Let's take a look at this once more. Here's the replay. Oh, no, different one this is. That's the 11 of Luca Vicerano going off into the gravel. Luckily enough, maintains his front wing. Sometimes it can be ripped off in the process of making your way through the gravel, but Luca Vicerano, I think, can thank his lucky stars to a certain degree there, but has lost a lot of time off the back of Famolaro, who sits in 9th place. It's Yevon David in control. Vicerano did, in fact, lose out to Kolovos in his first start this weekend. He's now into 10th place as the Greek, as they now storm down through towards the Alboreto corner. Here comes Everett Stack now at the inside of his own teammate, Michael Shin. My goodness.
He likes that move, doesn't he?
Yeah, it worked for him before, and he's going to try and utilise it again this time, and it may yet present an opportunity on the long run down through towards the first chicane on this long straight. Stack and Shin together here this time as they look to pursue together this Turn 1 section to open up the door on a potential P3 visit. Stack, who's been largely successful in many cases, is down the lead, gets exchanged this time. It's Jose Garfias who pounces on Yevon David, lead of the race in the palm of his hand, and Everett Stack looking to challenge coming around Curva Grande.
Yeah, so that lunge on the inside of Alboreto, what it does is that it slows them up in the middle of the corner and they lose a little bit of the slipstream down the start and finish straight. And it's getting very, very close, almost Vettel and Alonso-esque down there on the grass on the outside, and Yevon David taking the lead back into the 2nd chicane round the outside as Stack does cement that 3rd place spot as well.
Yeah, you get the sense it was coming. Stack managing to position the car in all the right places. Now back comes Kaharczyk in the midst of this little squabble here. Now Shin losing more points in his efforts to try and get closer to Kaharczyk's leading points total ahead of own teammate Yevon David, but largely now it's in David's hands. Here's the replay of the moment. A late move to the inside and taking full advantage of it. Jose Garfias, Michael Shin. Unfortunately for him, his momentum was essentially brought to zero. A little slide of the rear as well on the outset of turn 2, and it allowed the momentum to be placed in the favour of Everett Stack, who converted it into 3rd at the Rogier chicane.
Now, this is what I mean about the slipstream. That slow-moving Luca Vicerano with a left rear puncture by the looks of it. So hopefully he is around the curve at Alboreto and to the extreme right-hand side of the circuit. By the time the leaders get round there, he'll be pit lane bound, I'm sure. Drums for the other Nielsen car. Kolovos coming into the pit lane with no front wing. Yeah. Oh, no! This is why. Kolovos into the back and over the top of Vicerano's car. Now, that is not how Kolovos would have wanted his single-seater debut to go, but it's game on for the lead once again with Garfias trying to go around the outside, a big outbraking manoeuvre. They very nearly touched as Yevon David got into the corner too deep. He'd locked up that front right, and that has forced Garfias off the road. Now, that's going to be a contentious one, because I would say he has to kind of give that back, I think, but Everett Stack could complicate matters here if he gets in between them. He tried to get on the inside. He's trying to find the gap. He can't find it, though. Yevon David's got that one covered off just about.
And in context, this is, of course, a battle over the Rookie Championship win as well, because obviously Everett Stack only about 4 points behind, if my mathematics serves me correctly, in between those two in terms of the Rookies Championship. And there's a very sorry sight for the Nielsen Racing team. 2 of their cars now in the pits after a collision that we just witnessed from our replay. And we'll take a look at the moment to get lock-up from Yevon David. I tell you what, he was so fortunate that he kept the car on tow, really coming through that first corner, because if he had locked up any further, then he would have careered together 3 wide, coming into Ascari near enough, as Yevon David had another look on Garfius, and also, as a consequence, Stack fancied his chances for a move into second.
Well, I tell you, it could have all come undone for Yevon David very quickly there at the start of this lap, couldn't it?
And for Garfius.
And for Garfius, yeah, well, for the championship as well for Yevon David, but Stack has got good momentum. Again, they're fanning out across the circuit, but Yevon David is the one who's going for the lead into Alboreto. It's all going to start kicking off now. They've been figuring out, where can I get the places, where have I got the advantage, and now we're just going to see an all-out bar brawl for the last 4 laps of racing, I think. So it's Yevon David to the front. Garfius pulls back out to the slipstream, and David's getting swallowed up here as Stack tries to find a way through as well. Michael Shin making it 4 wide nearly. Yevon David on the outside, Garfius on the inside. Garfius locks up, runs very, very deep, and cuts the chicane again. Yevon David is second, and Michael Shin with contact against his teammate. Against the Enzo Ye car. Wow.
Yeah, Enzo, just getting it just slightly wrong. He came together with Michael Shin as well. Unfortunately for he ended up in the grumble. There's the rear wing damage, I think, from what I could see, as now we see the cars come together, coming down in towards the Rogier. Through goes Jose Garfius, remains where he is up at the very head of the order. Yevon David into second, Stack in third, all over the tail of the Sri Lankan Lion. A huge almighty battle now unfolding in the opening sector on this lap. 4 to go at the moment.
But
and now, Shin's gone.
That's the end of the championship for Michael Shin now, surely. Maybe not in terms of the mathematics, but any realistic hope surely is now out after that contact with Enzo Ye on the exit of the first chicane. He's parked up at the side of the road, 1 contender down, and still 3 and a bit laps of racing to go. It's anybody's game.
And Fernando Barrichello now, 4th place. He has lifted himself through the rostrum, has managed to get past him at Kaharczyk. Ed Pearson also has suddenly joined this fray. That, I can imagine, is a very disappointed Michael Shin. Is now Everett Stack once again fancying a move at the Alboreto corner. He has done it, I think, as well. Has held it together. 2nd place for Stack against the 2 rookies who are fighting for the Rookies Championship, manacled together. Yevon David looking to return the serve, though. Back comes the Sri Lankan this time. Around the outside, a long run down through towards turn 1. They're going to stay wheel to wheel. Near enough, rear right on Yevon David's car to front left of Everett Stack as they come down in towards the heavy braking zone. And Barrichello having a little look there, but Stack unable to hold second. David takes it back.
There's an awful lot of gravel there now, isn't there, on the exit of the first chicane because of that contact. Let's see if we can unpackage this. So he's going around the outside of Ye. He's on the curb, and he got a little bit of oversteer, and there was just enough overlap with Enzo Ye. I'd be amazed if that hasn't damaged the suspension of the BVM car as well.
Well, it looked like the rear end on Shin's car actually smashed down on the front wing of Enzo Ye as well. He's so lucky that he kept that front wing on. Whether it's actually sustained damage, I'm not quite sure. But one thing we can say is that Enzo Ye is down in 10th place. Here's how the standings currently look. Michael Shin.
Well, this suddenly looks completely different to just a few laps ago, doesn't it? Because Yevon David is falling back again. And that would be an opportunity for Kaharczyk to wrap up the title in race 2 later on today. I think Yevon's got to surely have a pounce to keep a realistic championship hope alive. He's got to win this race and hope that Kaharczyk doesn't exactly make much forward progress.
Yeah, well, we've got 3 laps or so to go, folks. It is Garfius who leads the way, but as we all know, positions can change very quickly. Yevon David all over the tail, and a drop of 3 grid positions for car 7. That is Kolovos, who's currently routed to the bottom. That's for causing a collision with his own teammate that we saw earlier on. That was Luca Viscerano, as we now see them come out of the final corner and now jet down through towards turn 1 once again. It's Garfius, David, Stack, your top 3. Further back, Barrichello with Kaharczyk as well. But here comes Yevon David looking for the lead once more. He knows that this lead could mean everything. This win could mean everything now with 2 to go, and he takes it back. Takes a longer route, though, coming through out to the Retifilio chicane. Everett Stack primed and ready on the back of Jose Garfius. at the same time as they come through Curva Grande once more. Garfius forfeiting the lead and now could yet forfeit second place because here comes Everett Stack now, who had a better run coming through Curva Grande, but now Yevon David being pounced on. They're going to go 3 wide, heading down in towards the Roger chicane, and Garfius somehow, some way, back into the lead here at Monza, and now it's between Stack and David on the run down towards the Lesmo.
I thought Yevon would have a run there. He had a better run out of the second chicane, but not enough to do anything with that. Certainly not to go around the outside of the first Lesmo on his teammate. That would have been very bold and brave indeed. Now, if you're Jose Garfias now, you're just going to try and pull the pin and go with a lap and a half remaining in this race and hope that the two behind keep squabbling. It's still game on. Kaharczyk trying to make a move on Barrichello. He's trying to take advantage of this as well with Yevon David falling down the order on this lap. And, of course, no Michael Shin scoring points in this race as well. So Kaharczyk on a bit of a damage limitation race. It just hasn't seemed like he's been able to properly fight in this race. Might even lose a place to Pearson here. But look at this. Look at those 3 cars. 1 lap to go in the first race of the weekend here at Monza for the Euroformula Open Championship. It's anybody's game as Garfias leads them over the timing line. Everett Stack and Yevon David in hot pursuit. Is it going to be Stack or Garfias or someone else? It's Stack for now as he pulls out of the slipstream and moves into the lead of the race. Yevon David going for second place, going for the lead as well. He's going to outdo 2 of them. Garfias, he's tagged!
No!
He's tagged Yevon David! I cannot believe it!
And there goes Garfias. That's Garfias. That's another championship contender. It's all gone from hero to 0 for Team Motorpark. Shin is gone. David gets spun. We also saw Garfias lose out. Everett Stack leads. Barrichello's been thrusted into the podium sectors as well. Something got ripped off from one of the cars as well. Kaharczyk now thrusted into the podium places, Chris.
Everett Stack suddenly on course for a second career win.
Damage.
Big damage. Oh, suspension puncture.
Rear left.
He's just got to crawl home. Just bring it home, Yevon. Just score something. This is extraordinary. This is Gilles Villeneuve-esque stuff that we're seeing here with Yevon David. Surely crawling to the finish line now just to try and get any points he possibly can to keep the championship alive. This is great news for Timothy Kaharczyk, though. He's up in 3rd position and surely he's in a great place now to try and win the championship in race 2.
He is well primed and ready. Everett Stack, though, on his return, looking to land a phenomenal result here. It would be only his 2nd win of the season, which is truly remarkable when you look at it on paper, but a race that has not been short of drama. Kaharczyk has been handed that olive branch to extend his championship lead, and it could yet be one that could lift him the title later on today when we'll find out. But Everett Stack, a winner for the 2nd time this season. Fernando Barrichello, an almighty 2nd place as well. A brilliant drive on the Brazilian's part, with 3rd place going to Timothy Kaharczyk. What a contest. What drama, what controversy, a title that could be turned on his head. Yevon David, credit to him. He brings the car home and will at least finish P6.
That is an extraordinary image. That is determination, never say die attitude, and of course immediately parks the car up after the checkered flag. So he came home in 6th position in the end. Despite that puncture.
That's 8 points.
That could be critical. Look, there's the remains of his tyre.
That was we saw it fly off. I wasn't sure what it was because it looked like it was fabric, and it was the very fabric of the tyre. But let's take a look at this moment again.
Garfias has gone in too deep and tagged Yevon there, and I don't think he was expecting Garfias to have a lunge on both of those cars.
But you've got front wing damage there for Garfias.
Jose.
There's the reason why. Probably some suspension damage there as well with that front left tyre. Of course, that's what hit Yevon David first.
That's a pretty damning angle for Jose, unfortunately.
I think so. I mean, obviously, it's going to lead to some horrendous... just see the reaction. I mean, Kai Degenhardt over the far left, he could almost see it coming, I think, before it happened. And we just see the cars make their way around on the cool-down lap. It is Everett Stack, your winner for a 2nd time this season. Fernando Barrichello in 2nd place. What a drive from the Brazilian to recover. some incredible positions. Timur Kaharczyk, after what looked to be a dismal start, a phenomenal recovery to take advantage of the chaos. Third place in what could be significant for the championship. Ed Pearson fourth. Alessandro Famolaro ahead of Yevon David, who brought the car home. Just never say die, as you so rightly say, Chris. Did not want to take any chances. P6 brings him 8 points. Garfias in 7th, ahead of Diego de la Torre, his fellow countryman. Michael Shin out of the race and could well find himself out of the championship battle with Enzo Yer in P10 and Taxarchis Kolovos down in 11th place. He also had to come into the box after a collision with Luca Visceranu. Here's how the championship looks now. Kaharczyk 36 points ahead of Yevon David, who now holds 2nd place, but only 2 points ahead of Michael Shin as it stands. Jose Garfias 4th, Ed Pearson in 5th, ahead of Fernando Barrichello as well, who's on 2:02. But wow, what a start. And listen, you can visualize anything you like coming into a race weekend. I don't think we ever thought it would lead to this. And there is Yevon David just storming towards the pit lane. I would imagine there's probably some frustration there as to what that race could have been for him, because he was largely leading the race for the majority first half of this race. Thumbs up given there. Obviously okay himself, which is always great to see, but the fact that he brought the car home in the manner that he did is truly remarkable. I mean, absolutely incredible stuff.
I'll say it again, it's Gilles Villeneuve-esque.
Yeah.
That was astonishing. So 37 points the difference on drop scores. I make that with my first bit of math, but let's celebrate this guy.
Everett Stack back on top once again in the Euroformula Open Championship. We'll celebrate here with the Motor Park team. Rubens Barrichello standing by to celebrate with Fernando. What a drive from FIFO, and Rubens showing his true appreciation of such a grand performance from his son. But Everett Stack, certainly the first part of the day belongs to him. What a result. They're going to lift him aloft and celebrate. Great style. I mean, that's huge as well for the Rookies Championship for Everett Stack.
I mean, yeah, I think Yevon should already have that one wrapped up, I think. But otherwise, a great result for Stack nonetheless. With a fantastic race. I will say, the rookie driver, his first year in the championship, a lot of more experienced heads lost their cool in that one, and Everett was the one who came through and brought it home in a very, very hectic and chaotic race. He's shown wisdom beyond his years, I would say there.
Yeah, no question. I think obviously, I mean, looking ahead to the weekend, there's going to be a lot of thoughts and discussions around the procedure for the remaining races. I think at this point, there's still major question marks as to who's going to be champion. I think really the ultimate winner in all that is Kaharczyk, obviously. I mean, he's come out of it now with a phenomenal P3. But my goodness, what a race. Let's run through the top 3. Of course, we saw Timur Kaharczyk land a significant blow by taking a podium, the only championship contender to do so. And just sits in behind Fernando Barrichello, who came in 2nd place. Everett Stack, though, your winner, as you can see on screen. And we'll now go to him now.
Everett Stack, what a crazy race. Great win. How was it from inside?
Yeah, it was crazy. Starting from P9, we had a little issue in qualifying. But made up for it in the race. I mean, crazy race. I just stayed behind watching the others, and they make the mistakes. And I guess I do what I do. I don't know.
Yeah, but you did some great moves, good charge, and the rest of the pack was a little bit nervous, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. This morning was cold, now it's warm. It's always changing, so you just have to adapt, and made the best of it.
Well done. 2nd win, and a nice one in Monza.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's run through the highlights, if we can compile it down into one. What a phenomenal race as we got underway. Yevon David getting the best start, though, out of the front 2. Timur Kaharczyk, though, would fight back coming down in towards turn 1, but he would also be pursued by Michael Shin. Busy starts elsewhere. Of course, Ed Pearson got slightly caught at the very beginning as well. Enzo Yer was stuck right in the heat of the action. We saw Garfias take the escape road down the inside also. Kaharczyk was In a position where he found himself losing places, Michael Shin would capitalise, moving through at the Roger chicane, and then later on, Jose Garfias doing ultimately the same. Enzo, yeah, would also impose on his teammate, but first and foremost, Garfias up the inside, passing Michael Shin to then move into second. Of course, we saw plenty of moves operated and also a lot of chaos around the Rettifilio section here at Monza. They come in at such high speeds and we would witness them come together again. Of course, it would be Garfias up the inside of Yevon David to take the race lead away from the Sri Lankan. Also, seeing Michael Shin move past Everett Stack, or hold position against Stack at the very least. Eventually, though, we did see very nearly two cars coming together. Garfias forced to take the escape with Yevon David making his way round. They would meet again, coming through the next segment, and once more, it would be the escape road for Jose Garfias, with Yevon David forced to remain behind, but a big collision with Michael Shin and also Enzo Ye, who would find himself in the gravel and ultimately drop further and further away. Three wides were then present coming through the Roger chicane as once again Garfias held position. Stack, though, moving past his rookie championship contender, eventually into second on track. A collision, though, between the championship contenders once more as Garfias and Yevon David met through turns 1 and turns 2. It led to Everett Stack, though, taking his second win of the season in a contentious battle, but one I'm sure long remembered as we look to crown the champions this weekend. So with the crowds watching on, they were not short of entertainment off the back of what we just witnessed now this afternoon. We've got another race to bring you later, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussions as to what we just witnessed. Kaharczyk third and highest of any championship competitor coming into this round. Fernando Barrichello going over to issue his own congratulations, and that's going to be shared between them. But it's Everett Stack for the second time on top, Chris.
Extraordinary stuff, and we'll hear the US national anthem.
So there we are, the United States national anthem rings out for Everett Stack as the teams all stand and celebrate a phenomenal first race. I can bet you as well. I don't want to say, are we going to top it? I think race 2 and race 3 are going to be just as hardly fought.
Well, we've got reverse grids to throw into it, haven't we? But, I mean, that's a huge race for Timic. I mean, at one point, it looked like he was going to be losing a significant chunk of his championship lead to Yevon David and Michael Shin. And he's ended up extending it. What a yo-yo race for Timic, in one where he didn't really look like he was able to properly throw his hat into the ring.
Yeah.
But he's come out best out of anybody in that championship fight. So, remarkable for Timic. And he's got an opportunity to wrap up the title this afternoon. As Jesus Pereira, CEO of the GT Sport organization, driving force behind this championship, hands the winner's trophy to Everett Stack. It's his second in this championship. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Everett can do in a second season in the Euroformula Open Championship. Surely a contender for next year's title.
No question. We'll look to follow in the footsteps of fellow countryman Brad Benavides, of course, who won the championship along Jack Crawford. We can also mention a former driver in the Euroformula, also representing the United States at the same time. But they're going to be standing together on the top step of the podium, celebrating in unison their podium exploits. Of course, rookie and winning trophy overall for Everett Stack. We will have the champagne sprayed on the podium here as well.
Oh, they're going to do it. Oh, they're going to have to put those in the washing machine, aren't they? The overalls, because they've got a race to come later on this afternoon.
They certainly do. And what a way to kickstart this Italian weekend. A weekend where we crown champions. Could it be Kaharczyk? Do stand by, folks. Race 1 done. We have got a second one coming up later on this afternoon. Don't miss it. From all of us here, goodbye.